everyone. I'm Erin Couts. I'm the president of the Missoula Family Violence Council, and I'd like to welcome you to this year's 10th annual Missoula Family Violence Council Awards ceremony. I want to thank you all for coming and supporting the award winners. Now, can you all hear me okay? People in the back? Louder? Now? Okay. So in Missoula, we are fortunate to have such dedicated people and organizations working to end relationship violence. Everyone from the 911 operators to law enforcement, to advocates, to the prosecutors in the city and the county attorney, to all of our community service providers, we all work together to bring meaningful change to the problem of relationship violence. Today also marks the start of October as Relationship Violence Awareness Month. Although we have made strides in reducing relationship violence, the sad fact is that way too many still suffer violence at the hands of an intimate partner. Every day, 3 women lose their lives in this country as a result of domestic violence, and there are millions more who live in daily, silent fear within their homes. However, there is hope in the knowledge that there are passionate, caring people addressing relationship violence, whether they are helping survivors or working on prevention efforts. Relationship violence is a community issue, and it is only by working together that we can make strides in ending this violence. We need to believe and support victims who take the courageous step to speak out against their abuser. We need to support the people working to hold offenders accountable. And we need to create long-term local funding for programs that help victims of violent crime. Lastly, we need to continue to work together to make all these things happen. To begin our ceremony, I'd like to introduce Mayor John Engen to offer some opening remarks. Do you want the microphone?
Thank you very much, Jen. Did you say reduce? Is that? If you could do that, I would be grateful, actually. It could work out very well. I am slightly scripted here, ladies and gentlemen, just because I want some of these statistics to be perfectly clear. Today, as Erin suggested, more than 1 in 3 women and more than 1 in 4 men in the United States have experienced rape, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner in his or her lifetime. Among those victims, more than 1 in 3 women experience multiple forms of rape, stalking, or physical violence. 92.1% of male victims experience physical violence alone, and 6.3% experience physical violence and stalking. Nearly half of all women and men in the United States have experienced psychological aggression by an intimate partner in their lifetime, 48.4% and 48.8% respectively. Intimate partner violence has lifetime health consequences. Men and women who experience rape or stalking by an intimate partner in their lifetime are more likely to report frequent headaches, chronic pain, difficulty with sleeping, activity limitations, poor physical health, and poor mental health than those who have not experienced these forms of violence. Women who had experienced these forms of violence were also more likely to report having asthma, irritable bowel syndrome, and diabetes than women who did not experience these forms of violence. Missoula has an amazing network of souls who are working on this issue every day, many of whom are in this room today. The City of Missoula, of course, has funded domestic and sexual violence prevention work in the city for the past year, and as a result, we are making progress on our healthy relationships curriculum so that kids in school start to get it early and often. Our sexual assault prevention campaign has earned nationwide attention and has inspired sister campaigns, including some in Israel, Panama, and India. And we launched the Sexual Assault Free Establishment. That's the Safe Alliance for Bars in April, and our 30-second spot is now being shown in front of all movies at the Carmike Cinemas for the next year. Of course, at the Missoula Police Department, we have created a special victims unit to respond to intimate partner in sexual violence charges. So that is my script, ladies and gentlemen. I will tell you that as I looked at the newspaper yesterday and then had a conversation later with Chief Brady about the events of the weekend, in our line of work, we stumble across lots of bad news, and in some ways, and on some days, we become a little bit immune to it. But I tell you, the story I read about the woman who was assaulted relentlessly over the weekend for hours at a time broke my heart. And there are days when I cannot imagine that we live in a community where that kind of violence takes place. And I'm not even going to call it violence anymore. It's torture, and it doesn't have a goddamn place in our community. And so the more we work every day to take care of that kind of business, make sure that those acts of violence and torture aren't perpetuated, that those women and men who suffer at the hands of violent perpetrators never have to experience it again, and they don't themselves find themselves in the position of being perpetrators, the better off we all are. So I thank you for your relentless work. The folks in this room who I know see this stuff every day, and at no point in your careers do you ever get used to it. Do you ever accept it? Do you ever think that it's hopeless? Because it's not. And that's all because of you. So thank you for being here. We look forward to providing these awards every year and reminding ourselves and the rest of the community that folks are standing up every day to do the right thing all day long. Commissioner Curtis, are you up next?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You always make very good points. So it's my honor today to read the proclamation from the city and the county. Whereas the effects of relationship violence cross all social and economic lines affecting women, men, children, and society as a whole, and whereas the crimes of partner and family member assault violate an individual's dignity, security, and humanity through the systemic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic control and abuse. And whereas Missoula community members can get involved in reducing or preventing relationship violence in our community by supporting programs that provide safety, healing, and help for survivors of relationship violence, by holding offenders accountable for their behaviors, by pledging to never commit, condone, or remain silent about relationship violence, and by honoring healthy relationships and families by striving to achieve a nonviolent and healthy community. Now therefore we, John Engen, Mayor of the City of Missoula, and the Board of County Commissioners, do hereby jointly proclaim October 2014 as Relationship Violence Awareness Month, and urge all citizens to actively participate in the scheduled activities and programs sponsored by the Missoula Family Violence Council, the Missoula YWCA, the University of Montana Student Advocacy Resource Center, and the Missoula City-County Relationship Violence Services, including the Crime Victim Advocate Program, Just Response, and the Healthy Relationship Project, to work toward the elimination of relationship violence. And it's signed by the Mayor and the County Commissioners. So thanks to all of you for the work that you do in this arena and the fact that we do not accept this as part of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioner. Now we're going to kick off the awards. The first award that we have today is for Pro Bono Attorney of the Year. So I would like to invite Amy Rubin and Kate Olson up to present that.
The attorney that's getting this award is very dedicated to clients and has worked really hard since 2007 to try to meet clients' needs. I've been personally impressed by how she's able to provide services to clients with an energy and a dedication and a compassion, as well as intelligence and hard work. And it doesn't matter if these clients are paying clients at full rate or are not able to pay anything or can only pay a modest means. All of her clients get the same level of services, and it's an excellent quality services.
I first met this attorney through her clients, actually. As I sat in my office after first bringing them in, they were often feeling broken. And the first light of hope that they had was through their attorney. They described how she worked with them to eliminate barriers. She went above and beyond to provide support and connect them with resources, including my agency, the YWCA. She was there for them when others turned them away. And through her work with undocumented workers who've experienced violence, for members of the community who've experienced human trafficking and other levels of intimate partner violence, I've been impressed with her services and her support and her compassion for the community. We would like to invite up for the award Attorney Brandy Reese.
I feel incredibly honored to be able to receive this award, and when I look out, I see so many faces of people that I know are completely committed to doing this work with me, and I'm thankful for each and every one of you that has been on this journey with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I'd like to invite Rebecca Petit from the YWCA.
Did I pronounce your name wrong?
Pettit.
It's okay.
Petite sounds better. So again, my name is Rebecca Pettit, and I work at the YWCA. And I feel fortunate to be able to nominate and celebrate Shannon Parsons as an outstanding volunteer to the YWCA and as well as the Missoula community. Shannon has been volunteering with the YWCA for the last several years, meeting women and children at all hours of the day, but especially on the nights and on the weekends, especially in the middle of the night. Shannon's our middle of the night woman. To provide support and resources during very difficult times, as well as to bring women and children into our confidential domestic violence shelter when they're fleeing their violent homes and the violent situations that they find themselves in. Shannon consistently volunteers to meet women and children every week, although often being on calls for days on end throughout the week. We could not provide the support and the round-the-clock consistent services to the women and children without the support of Shannon. Shannon is continually on the lookout for what else she can do to offer support to the YWCA and the survivors seeking services here. Shannon professionally works as a public safety officer at the University of Montana and has facilitated cross-trainings between the University of Montana Office of Public Safety and the YWCA. Shannon takes the opportunity to be the liaison between the two and ensures strong collaboration and to ensure that survivors are receiving the best services and support possible. On several occasions, this has proven to be very helpful, both for us as professionals, but as well as for the women and the children that we serve. We could not offer the breadth and depth of services without Shannon's support. She has incredible passion and knowledge to assist people in intimate partner violence, and continually, whether it's at work, volunteering for the YWCA, or for her free time, is available and willing to help people in need. Shannon is an outstanding volunteer, and we are happy to recommend her and applaud her for her services to the Missoula community, to to the YWCA, and to survivors. Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you. I wanted to say thank you to the YWCA for letting me do this work. I get to be in a great role of taking women from a dangerous situation to the shelter, and I get to be part of some really amazing moments. I remember one night when I met with a woman who had left her boyfriend, and she told me that he had pushed her into the window and broken the glass, and she left with her suitcase rolling behind her and tried several times to flag down the cars and finally got a ride to meet me at a safe place. And we determined that it was better for her to be in a place where he wouldn't know where she was. And so we went to the shelter. And on the way there, she started to second guess leaving her situation. And I tried to reassure her. And I told her that tonight she would be safe. And when we got to the shelter, there were 3 women in the living room, and they all got up and welcomed her and hugged her and introduced themselves and told her she'd be okay. And they all told her that it was hard for them when they first came there too. And I remember in that moment feeling very privileged to be part of that. And I thank the YWCA for letting me do that. I'm grateful to be part of all the good that they do, and I'm grateful to be part of a community, you all, that cares so much about people, and I'm very honored to receive this award. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we're going to do Peace Officer of the Year for the Sheriff's Office, so I'd like to invite up Sheriff Carl Ibsen.
I made it up this year without tripping. Jace, could you come up, please? Our nominee and winner of the award this year is Senior Deputy 2 Jace Dickin. On February 24th, 2014, deputies responded to a PFMA call that involved a victim that had been strangled to the point of unconsciousness. Detective Jason Johnson, who followed up on it, described the victim's description of what happened to her as one of the most chilling accounts of a strangulation that he had ever heard. During a disturbance at their home, the victim was strangled by her boyfriend, the father of her child, to the point that she was completely unconscious. She described not being able to breathe at all. She saw stars, and then her vision went milky before blotches of blackness turned into total black. She said she woke up when her boyfriend tossed keys at her. As she woke, she could not understand why she had been sleeping, and she did not know where she was. She tried to stand but fell back down. She thought she had been shopping and having fun at the mall with her 6-year-old daughter. She said this vision was so real to her, but that she realized what had just happened as she watched her boyfriend walk out the front door with their 8-month-old baby. Him telling her, "You'll never see him again." The victim also described a different incident in which her boyfriend broke her finger about a month earlier, an incident that went unreported. She wasn't sure what to do in this situation, but she would later tell the detective that the only reason that she went to the hospital on the day she was strangled was because of the nice deputy who responded. That deputy was Senior Deputy 2 Jace Dickin. She spoke at length how much she appreciated the way Senior Deputy Dickin spoke to her and for all the details of the dangers of strangulation that he provided her. His contact with her is what convinced her to seek medical help and kicked the boyfriend out of the house with the help of family. Her boyfriend was arrested and charged for his crime. As the detective conducted a follow-up interview with the victim, she became emotional while speaking about the encounter she had with SD2 Dickin, especially when she described the way he interacted and played with her children during the call, making a tough situation just a little bit better. He made a world of difference to this young lady and helped her to start making major steps to change her life and exclude her abuser from it. SD2 Dickin also directed her to the Crime Victim Advocate's office, where she received the help she needed to navigate the next few steps of her life. Jace is well known within our office for the compassion he brings to his work as a deputy sheriff and as a deputy coroner. He should be, and we like to commend him for the way he conducts himself and for the positive ways it reflects on our agency. Now, something that isn't written here, I find it especially enjoyable to be able to wind down my career. As you all know, I'm going to be retiring in a couple of months. This is the first time in almost, 42 plus years of law enforcement that I can ever remember a victim from any crime say, I went and followed up on it, I went to medical, I went to this, I went to that because of that nice cop. And Jace, that I'm really impressed, so thanks.
Pretty humbling being on this end of it, let me say that. And let me say thanks to all of you. Being a first responder, sometimes we're the tip of the spear and we get to go into the mess and try to make it safe and try to create order, and we don't get to follow up. But I'll be honest with you, 4 years ago, without the first step nurses coming and putting up with grouchy cops at 6 in the morning and teaching us what to say and equipping us with continuing learning and education, I wouldn't have had the words to say. And so, without the advocates following up and pointing them in the right direction, without all of us doing a piece of this, it doesn't happen. So I'm very grateful and thankful and appreciative. But I want to say thank you to all of you as well, because it takes all of us to see this through to the end and to a successful conclusion. Thank you.
Next up, we have Detective Jamie Merrifield.
We receive a lot of domestic violence related calls every year. It's sad, but it's true. So every year when it's time to pick an officer for this award, it's a tall order for our sergeants and lieutenants to look back over the past 300 plus days and select someone. However, this year has been very different. For several months, I've been receiving emails and messages about Officer Crystal Crocker's investigations. One detective who reviewed one of Crystal's reports said the following: I just want to take a quick moment and let you know that Crystal did a fantastic job on this burglary PFMA. Crystal articulated the probable cause for the charges very well, took notice of the evidence that the victim was afraid, her behavior, appearance of the house, and previous history, took photographs of the house, the victim, and the location of the suspect's car, which will be critical if this case goes to trial, and established a distinct pattern of behavior by the suspect that contributed to the victim's mental state. This is exceptional work and greatly appreciated. This case could have been borderline without this. The patrol supervisor who reviewed this case said, I agree wholeheartedly. It's one of the best articulated reports I've read. Another detective said this: Crystal Crocker did a great job handling an aggravated assault, partner-family member assault intake, and I thought you might consider her for your award nomination. One of her supervisors said in part, Crystal has gained a reputation by her peers and supervisors as the person you want to investigate a domestic violence case. These are a fraction of the reviews I've received over the past year about Crystal's work product, and while it speaks volumes, there was a recent incident that really emphasized the quality of Crystal's investigations. I was assigned a case to follow up with a PFMA aggravated assault. Unfortunately for this victim, it was the second time she had to call 911 in 1 month on this particular offender. Fortunately for her, Officer Crocker responded to both calls for service. Crystal treated her with compassion. She was thorough in her interview. She did an extensive search of the scene to make sure the suspect wasn't hiding inside. She made sure the victim had a place to go so that she didn't have to return to the scene until the suspect could be located. She made her feel safe. When I interviewed this woman, she could not say enough about how well Crystal conducted both investigations and how nice she was to deal with. This is the best review we can get. It's great to be recognized for our good work by our peers, but knowing that a member of our community feels safer from their contact with law enforcement is the highest praise we can receive. It's easy for me to stand up here and sing Crystal's praises because I know her. I know what a hard worker she is. I know how she actively seeks out advice from her peers about how to do a better job. I know that Crystal juggles shift work and a family and a husband who also works shift work. But this woman didn't know any of that. All she knew is that when she called 911, the officer who responded did the best job she could possibly do. And that's what we ask of our patrol officers. It's what Crystal delivers, and it's why she deserves this award for the Missoula Family Violence Council Peace Officer of the Year.
Okay. Thank you. Next up, we're going to have Human Services Professional of the Year. So I'd like to invite Leslie McClintock and Raquel Castellanos, which I probably just mispronounced.
Hi, I'm Leslie McClintock, and this is Raquel Castellanos, and we would like to talk about our friend and Executive Director of the Red Willow Healing Center and the Learning Center at Red Willow, Kathy Mangan. As a practitioner in the field of mind-body medicine and Executive Director of the Red Willow Center for Health and Healing, Kathy Mangan is driven by a big vision. She has said that the idea for Red Willow Center was first conceived of, and she doesn't say this but by her, in 1999. She said it came from the observation that sometimes it takes a village, and looking around here and keying off what Officer Dickens said, I'm just really proud of this village. But it takes a village to get us from a state of ill health to a place of optimum health. It seemed important to me to find a way to acknowledge the interconnectedness of our mind, body, and spirit in the way we practice health care, and the conversation began. Many of you remember those conversations as members of the Family Violence Council Exploratory Beyond Trauma Group. I don't know how we came up with the name of that committee, for which Kathy was one of the 3 founding members and went on to facilitate the group from 2006 to 2009. It really was an ad hoc committee. EBTG was a committee that charged themselves really with the work of figuring out how to respond to trauma as a community in terms of after the trauma has occurred, after the services have occurred, where can people go to find healing and to put their lives back together? So that group work culminated in May 2009. Many of you might have remembered the conference we had with Bessel Vanderkolk here that brought 300 people from a 6-state region. So from that conference, that was a springboard for Kathy working, and for those of us who follow her in general, bringing the Healing Center into fruition. This place that we had all determined after all that work was needed to be in the community was to be a healing center that would be accessible to all who had experienced trauma and needed healing to get their lives back. No matter what their circumstances were or whether or not they had insurance, no matter whether or not they could afford it, no matter what shape they were in when they walked through the door, it was to be a beautiful and calm place, a welcoming place, an accessible place for anyone who needed to be there. We've all participated on committees with lofty visions and goals, but it takes a really special leader to step up, take it on, lead the charge, and get those visions from paper to reality. It was Kathy's passion and commitment to victims of trauma, particularly victims of domestic and relationship and sexual violence, that was the driving force behind her founding the Red Willow Center for Health and Healing, which includes the business side of 15 holistic practitioners and the nonprofit side, the Learning Center at Red Willow. This came to be one short year after the conference. The Red Willow opened its doors in November 2010 with Kathy as executive director. The mission statement of the Learning Center states, "The Learning Center at Red Willow alleviates the suffering of life's inevitable adversities and traumas by nourishing the human capacity for resilience, wholeness, and joy." And resilience, wholeness, and joy is what we need to re-experience, and there are ways to help us re-experience those lost body states, emotional states after trauma. So the Learning Center at Red Willow does this by providing mind-body-based healing services for individuals, families, and communities who have experienced trauma, offering these experiential learning opportunities and providing skills known to help restore feelings of safety and predictability, and presenting information about how to calm the body, restore peace to the mind, and maintain optimum levels of health.
Since opening our doors, we've served nearly 2,000 people, and many of those, over 1,000, have been provided with sliding fee scale and full scholarship. And it is with the vision that Kathy Mangan brought to this, and her sheer just tenacity and will to get this off the ground, that this organization now is in this community and providing services to folks who are recovering from traumatic experiences. So when we ask, what does it take to heal trauma, really? It takes a journey that each person takes individually, but there are certain supports and space that really need to be held. And so, for me, it takes someone with the leadership like Kathy Mangan to get this beautiful organization off the ground and provide that space for people to do the deeper work of healing and become whole. So really, it's with great honor that we nominated Kathy Mangan and present this award as the Human Services Professional Award of the Year. Thank you, Kathy, for all your work.
I'll say something. Yes. I never can keep my mouth shut, so I'm just going to say thank you very much, and I just want to really express my gratitude for the community, because honestly, this would have gone nowhere without everybody in the room. So, understanding the vision, understanding the importance of what comes next is really, really key, and I really appreciate the fact that we're in Missoula, Montana, because that's where this kind of stuff happens. So thank you for being you.
Next up, we have Criminal Justice Professional of the Year. And I'd like to invite, I believe, Jenny Daniel and Drew coming up. Okay, perfect.
Since 2012, when the Department of Justice came to town to investigate Missoula's handling of sexual assault cases, Captain Mike Collier has been at the center of the effort to improve the Missoula Police Department's response and comply with an agreement between the two agencies. His task has been to understand and eliminate the issues identified by the department and to improve the Missoula Police Department's response to Missoula's most vulnerable victims of a crime so difficult to prosecute. He has had the challenging task of working with the Department of Justice, the officers of the MPD, and his peers in law enforcement, the justice system, and community to understand where the system is failing. His work has been and continues to be extensive. He conducted an internal investigation to gain understanding of the DOJ's accusations. He has worked closely with the department to train officers and detectives and to develop policies and standard operating procedures to improve overall enforcement response. He is in charge of a community safety audit, a victim survey, and an ongoing external review panel. In a non-defensive manner, he has worked closely with the external review panel to learn how officer response can improve. The panel reviews all felony cases of sexual assault that the Missoula PD investigates, looking for case comprehensiveness and bias. He gets us case reports and histories and helps us understand law enforcement's role in responding to and investigating sexual assault reports. Mike is steadfast, thorough, and committed to this task. He cares about the officers at the Missoula PD, and he cares about the victims they seek to serve. Mike is a person who demonstrates commitment to eliminating barriers and providing a compassionate and empowering experience to victims engaged in the criminal justice system. And he demonstrates dedication to ensuring accountability of sexual violence offenders. I think to accept this award on his behalf is Chief Brady.
Thank you. You don't have to say anything if you don't want to. Yeah, unfortunately, Captain Mike Collier was not able to be here today, So next up, we're going to have Public Servant of the Year, and I would like to invite Kim Brown Campbell up.
Hello. So, for Public Servant of the Year, I've nominated Captain Ben Gladwin of the University of Montana Police Department, newly named this semester from the Office of Public Safety. And as most of you who know him, you might agree with me that he is really one of the most real people I know. On one hand, he takes his job incredibly seriously, but he can always make a situation where you're starting to talk about sort of the deepness, the breadth of the situation that we in this room deal with every day, and somehow make you feel better about your work and your persistence and your perseverance. So without him, I think sometimes I couldn't do my job. He's led his department through also, as we're kind of revisiting our 2012 agreements, or actually they happened in 2013, but in the course of 1 year, he worked with his staff to rewrite all of the SOPs, policy and procedure for a university department. And I was in I can quote this, I can prove this, I was there, that there were some folks there at the national level who were giving him kudos in New Orleans at a conference we attended together. He and his staff on those writings and those policies and procedures. And I really do believe that those will go on to provide a standard for other universities, police departments. So I just have one word for him in terms of describing him, and that is humility. I think he's one of the most humble people I know. So I just want Ben to come on up and get your award. Captain Ben Gladwin.
I didn't prepare a speech because I'm really not big on public speaking, but the one thing that I just absolutely have to say is thank you all to all members of the community. None of this would ever be where it is today without help from everybody, not just at the university, but the entire Missoula community. So thank you.
So next up, we're going to have the award for Educator of the Year, and I'd like to invite Kirsten Pabst up here to present this one.
Thank you. Dr. Kim Brown Campbell has been a leader in this community for years. She's committed to eliminating family and sexual violence. She works as an educator, she's an artist, she's a counselor, she's a teacher. She's a coordinator and she's a volunteer. And she's such a positive role model and inspiration to the many, many people who are touched by her work and her commitment to making our community a safer place. Kim truly leads by example and has an uncanny ability to approach any challenges by identifying the silver lining of any given situation. She finds good qualities in everyone and can turn difficult problems into teaching moments, bridging polar viewpoints and bringing opposite sides together. Working in an area where folks are exposed to human suffering, chaos, Kim is truly a beam of sunshine, brightening her surroundings and improving the lot of her fellow workers as well. She improves the lives of her clients and the lives of people that she doesn't even know or doesn't ever get to meet, the survivors of domestic and sexual violence. She's deserving of our recognition, and she's deserving of our gratitude.
I know everybody's having to rush off back to work, so maybe I should stay up here and talk longer. But thank you very much, and people who've personally congratulated me for this award, I want to say that, and what my words are, that I couldn't do it without all my peeps. And I think I see all of them standing right here in front of me. And thank you. I was wondering who that naughty person was who nominated me. But thank you so much. And I'm saying this, my dad lives in North Carolina, and he is a retired teacher, and then after he retired, he taught driver's ed for 10 years, so he just couldn't get away from teaching, and so I will dedicate this award to him because he is my educator mentor. So his name is Brandon Brown. So thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, we have Citizen of the Year, so I would like to invite Susan Cortina up.
Well, I am Susan Cortina. I'm with the YWCA, and I'm the past president of the Missoula Family Violence Council as well. And this award goes to Richard Crum. And Richard was a philanthropist and longtime supporter of the Missoula Family Violence Council. He donated his time and expertise as the organization's treasurer for many years. Richard was a teacher, teaching French, Spanish, and math, quite a combination. His second career, however, was as an international banker with the French-American Banking Corporation, which was a subsidiary of Banque Nationale de Paris. And after he retired from that career after 31 years, he returned to Missoula and worked with Montana Legal Services, with the Missoula County Clerk's Office, and with O'Brien Law Firm. He was also connected with Davison Honors College at UM, mentoring students who received scholarships through his generosity. Richard was really committed to supporting the work of the Missoula Family Violence Council, and he will be missed. He kept the organization on track financially, and he was consistent in attending monthly meetings when he wasn't traveling around the country visiting friends and relatives. I am honored to award him in memoriam the Citizen of the Year Award.
All right. So let's give one last round of applause to the award winners to show our appreciation. And thank you to everyone out there for coming today. Your involvement is crucial to creating a community without violence, and I appreciate you all coming today. One last note before we leave, we do have cake. So please grab a slice before you leave. It's back in the corner, kind of by Jenny Daniel, you know where she So thank you again, and we'll see you next year.